I've known since I was 14 that there were things that that I thought were normal and that were okay that nobody else seems to think are normal and okay. So that's when I just started being a loner, I guess.
Israel Keys had no remorse at all. He enjoyed what he did. He talked about enjoying what he did. He talked about, had he not been caught, some of his future plans and what he would have done, which included continuing to do what he was doing, continuing to kidnap and murder people. So he had no remorse at all.
Some serial killers leave behind a trail of evidence, a pattern, something for investigators to piece together. But not Israel Keys. He was different, cold, calculated, and terrifyingly methodical. He had no clear victim type, no geographic pattern, no obvious motive. And for years, he stayed completely off the radar.
I don't need to be punished for these other things that I haven't talked to you about yet, because all these others, they can't prosecute a dead man, so it's like, what?
Investigators say Israel Keys, who took his own life in jail, committed 11 homicides across the country between 2001 and 2012.
It's really important to us to be able to bring some type of closure to family members that are still wondering what happened to their loved ones.
Keys also admitted to multiple kidnappings, bank robberies, home invasions, and arsons. He told investigators he buried caches of money, tools, and weapons across the country to help him commit his crimes.
Our primary concern is identifying additional homicide victims, but we're certainly also interested in identifying other crimes that he committed, because it will help us put him in a particular place in the country.
Keys told FBI agents he related the most with convicted serial killer Ted Bundy.
He didn't really have remorse. He didn't have empathy.
Israel Keys wasn't just a murderer. He was a predator who thrived on control. He studied past serial killers, learning from their mistakes. He understood law enforcement techniques. He left no digital footprint, no connection to his victims, and most disturbingly, he enjoyed every second of it. He once said, "I've known since I was 14 that I was different, that I could do things that other people couldn't." And what he meant by different was the ability to kill without remorse. Unlike most serial killers, Israel Keys didn't target people close to home. He traveled thousands of miles, often flying into one state, renting a car, and driving for hours just to throw investigators off his trail. He hid kill kits, buckets filled with weapons, cash, and tools, buried across multiple states, sometimes years before he even picked a victim. These weren't spur-of-the-moment killings. They were planned with military precision. He had a rule: never kill in the same state where he lived, never leave a pattern, never rush, and always, always leave no trace. On February 1st, 2012, 18-year-old Samantha Koenig was working the night shift at a small coffee stand in Anchorage, Alaska. She was about to close up for the night when a masked man approached. That man was Israel Keys. He ordered her to lie on the ground, zip-tied her hands, and forced her into his truck at gunpoint. What followed was a night of pure terror. Keys took her to a shed next to his home, knowing that just feet away, his own girlfriend and 10-year-old daughter were inside the house, completely unaware. After keeping her hostage overnight, he strangled her the next morning. But the most disturbing part? He later sewed her eyes open to make her appear alive in a ransom photo he sent to her family. Keys didn't need money. He had enough. The ransom was never about the money. It was about the thrill. For years, Israel Keys operated in the shadows. But one mistake changed everything. After killing Samantha Koenig, he made a rare slip-up. He used her debit card at an ATM. Investigators tracked his movements as he withdrew cash in multiple states, moving south from Alaska to Texas. It was in Lufkin, Texas, that law enforcement finally caught up with him. Inside his car, Samantha's ATM card, her phone, and a gun. Once in custody, Keys toyed with the FBI. He confessed to killing at least 11 people, but refused to give full details. He wanted control, even in death. On December 2nd, 2012, before he could face trial, Israel Keys ended his own life in his prison cell, a final act of control. He left behind a twisted suicide note filled with cryptic, almost poetic writings about murder and death. The worst part? We may never know the full extent of his crimes. How many bodies are out there? How many families never got answers? His secrets died with him. Israel Keys was a different kind of monster. No clear motive, no pattern, no remorse, just a relentless hunger to kill. And even now, years after his death, the question remains, how many more victims are still out there, buried in unmarked graves? If you found this case as disturbing as we did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more real crime stories. And remember, monsters don't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes they walk among us.